Hello everyone, this is Greg again with Silverlight Tutorials. Today we'll be talking about the grid, which is also very similar to, if you're familiar with ASP.NET, the table control, or if you're familiar with HTML, it's very similar to the table tags, the TD tags and the TR tags, all very similar to the way that the grid works. Right here I have the layout root that comes very similar or very often when you create a new application, a Silverlight application. And here, right here, my highlighted stuff right here is the row definitions and column definitions. And as you may suspect, the row definitions define the various rows you can have, and the column definitions define the various columns you can have. As you can see here, each definition will correspond to a particular row or column. If I were to, let's see, if I were to delete one of these right here, just go like that, you'll notice that up here now, I have, why didn't that do that, actually? It should only be 3 columns now. What did I do wrong here? Gotta love on-the-fly troubleshooting. Let's see here, what if I delete that? Okay, now we only have 2. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at it wrong. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we have 4 columns here, 0 through 3. If we were to get rid of one of these right here, you'll notice again, it'll get rid of the 1, so now you have 0, 1, 2. Same thing with the row definitions here. If I were to delete 2 of these here, then we'd go down to 0, 1, 2. Alright, so very similar. It just defines how many columns, how many rows you are, and before anybody asks, yes, you can do this as a go-behind. Yes, it's pretty simple, and yes, that way you can dynamically make your rows and columns based on various aspects of, something in the database or, on-the-fly coding. If enough people ask for it in comments on this video, I will do a second tutorial on that, but I don't want to waste everybody's time with that today if a lot of people either don't have the interest or already have some knowledge in it or can figure it out. So if I do Control Z here, I'm just gonna throw these back in here. And one thing you'll notice here is this little star here. What this basically tells you is that it will do anything past these 3. There's really no use to doing the 162 star personally. That was just something when I was creating it that did, but you'll notice if I do a star now and I click on this, whoops, and I click on this, it looks the same. What the star actually does, okay, is it allows you to say, okay, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, so really 5 rows with the 0, right? So we're going to have one with the height of 50, one with the height of 50, one with the height of 38, and this says whatever's left over, assign it to this one. Now where this can come in handy is, let's say that you decide now, okay, you know what, I want to give this one 52. Okay, if you noticed up here, and I'll do it again while you look at it here, I'll do it real slow here because I'll add it as it goes. Okay, you'll notice that it just assigns the bottom content whatever's left over. Okay, and same thing if I add another row, and this goes for the column definitions too. I'm not going to show you, but it's the exact same thing. So now I added another row, okay, and it did the same thing. Added another row, and then whatever's left, well, so be it, we'll give it whatever's left. Okay, and there you go. See, now I took it away. Now it's a much bigger space left over. Alright, so that comes in handy for on-the-fly stuff. What I just wanted to go over real quick is if we get rid of this grid row definition and make a little room here. Just want to give a quick tutorial or a quick show of what the use of this is. I don't want to go into too much detail because if anybody's used a table before, which I'm pretty sure in one of your languages you have, other than syntactical stuff and its behavior, you'll pick it up pretty quickly. So one thing I wanted to show real quick here, especially with the button, you can see it the easiest, is that with the button, just like the stack panel tutorial, if you do not give it a width and height, it automatically will become the size and width of that cell. Alright, that particular cell that it's in. Now you'll also notice that's the top left, so that's cell 0. Okay, so what you're going to notice now, if I do grid dot row, okay, let's say I want it now, you know what, I'd really rather in row 1. It's going to put it in row 1 for you. By default, all of them do this. Okay, by default they are row 0, column 0. What I recommend is to always get yourself in the habit of putting this here. Reason being is because when you have 10 buttons, okay, it is much easier at a glance to be able to see, when you have 10 buttons or something like that all over here. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, I only got one button here, where are the other ones? You're going to find it much easier if you actually have this as opposed to this. Okay, it's just much easier. So, sorry, I like Control Z a lot, so I'm just going to do that, and let's do row 1, and just to show that this does work, column 2, and now it's in column 2, and you notice that the size is different now, because that particular cell is different. So now, let's give it a name of Greg Button. Oh, you know what, and I keep doing that, Greg Button. And let's see, content, actually, text. I don't know, it is content, I'm sorry. I always get them confused on which button which control I'm on. Test button. Okay, and then we'll do, let's see, width equals 50, and height equals 50. We'll adjust this a little bit. 70, 80. There we go. Okay, let's do actually 30. There we go. Now it looks like a regular button. Okay, so now you've got your button here, which is great. And one thing I did want to show everybody is that when you drag stuff into other locations, one thing you have to be wary of is, one, when it's crossing boundaries, you want to be aware of that and account accordingly. When you drag something in, it does not necessarily conform, especially when you have a particular width and height. It is not going to conform to the size. So if you were used to a bigger size and you've moved it over into this smaller one, you're going to want to adjust accordingly, otherwise it's not going to come out right on the page. The other thing you want to be wary of is if you want it to be floating and you don't want it to necessarily be in a fixed spot and you want everything to be centered, do not mess with the margins. Get rid of them. Okay? You'll notice that if you get rid of them and then you place it, let's see, if we place it right there, okay, let me get rid of this margin here. It should not, oh, it's lying to me here. Okay, it's trying to center it and you're way bigger than the size of this, so the only other way to really account for this, oops, is to move this over. There we go. Okay. Now, and it looks like I put the margin in there again too. So you just gotta play around with it and be careful. Mostly, I personally, when I'm dealing with stuff like this, I would much rather. Let's put that back to the way it was here. I would much rather move it column. So if you move it to 2, okay, and then what this is gonna show you is, hey, dumbass, you have space here, and it's not gonna show. Okay. So, just as a pre-warning, you notice how difficult, how quick it got to be a pain in the butt to try to get the margin to work. So, just as a heads up to that. Other than that, it's really pretty straightforward. The only other thing that I like to do, okay, is one thing you'll notice here. Let's just, this is going to bug me, so let me just do that. And, you'll notice that when this runs, you're just going to see the button here. Okay, well, in the text box that I made, though, we never ended up messing with because I don't want to make this too long. Okay, now when you're debugging, one thing that's really nice to deal with is this show grid lines. I just put it in and make it false by default. That way if I am having a problem and I don't know what the heck is going on, you can always run that. Show grid lines equals true. I don't tend to keep it all the time because obviously, as you can see, it's pretty funky looking, but it'll at least show you where in the grid you live. Okay, so it'll keep things nice and tidy, and you can see what's going on visually when you're debugging or running the program. So that's just something nice to do. So that's about it. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to comment or send me a message. And if there's anything else that anybody would like to see, please feel free to let me know. I'm open to anything. And that's about it. So thank you, and have a good night.